Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Deborah Larson, American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics.
No, that's the...
Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Deborah Larson, California Polytech State University, San Luis Obispo. Just trying to get to Sandra a little too soon, I think.
I'll try to be a little bit briefer with my remarks.
No, we're happy to hear all of you.
Thank you.
And we plan to have some questions afterwards, so thank you.
It's such a privilege to be here with you. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and it's so wonderful to be able to meet my sisters in engineering, and I'm so glad that you confused me with an astronaut. But I do have to say that I didn't want to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a spy. So there you go. All right, so thank you. I'm Deb Larson, and I've been serving as Dean for the College of Engineering at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo since 2011. Cal Poly Engineering actively partners with the aerospace and defense industries, and we welcome the opportunities that this industry provides through their, through their service to our nation and through their exploration of new horizons. According to Aviation Week 2015 workforce study, Cal Poly, that's Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, is ranked #1 as the alma mater of young A&D professionals. Yeah, thank you. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo is a member of the 23 school CSU Cal State University system. According to our fall census, the university enrolled nearly 21,000 students. With nearly 5,700 undergrads and 330 master's students, the College of Engineering is one of the larger engineering colleges in the nation in terms of our baccalaureate degrees production. We rank 15th in the nation. The College of Engineering promotes learn by doing and an environment that effectively links theory to practice and produces graduates that are well known for their engineering and leadership abilities. Important to the aerospace and defense industries is that we graduate over 700 top-shelf engineers each year that are coming from the majors. This isn't all of the majors that I host, that are coming from aerospace, computer engineering, computer science, electrical engineering, industrial engineering, mechanical engineering, and software engineering, and I have a few other majors that I supervise. While women represent 23% of our bachelor's degree, 23% of our engineering student body, we are ranked 20th in the nation in terms of baccalaureate degrees that are awarded to women. In California, that puts us only behind UC Berkeley and UC San Diego, who do a little better job in terms of the numbers of women graduating in engineering. We are on target to reach an incoming first-time freshman class of 30% women in the fall of 2016, and I really want to talk a little bit more about the importance of 30%. It's an honor and a responsibility to lead Cal Poly's College of Engineering. My path to San Luis Obispo was a long one, 36 years to be exact, and one that was complete with its own ups and downs. I don't like to talk a lot about the ups and downs. I like to just try to get past that. And so I'll just give you some hints to what that meant. As a high school student in cold and snowy Upper Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, the Lake Superior, above the Arctic Circle, you might not know about that here in California. I decided to pursue engineering after attending a summer program at the local engineering university that introduced young women to engineering. Spurred by changes in society such as the feminist movement and Title IX, I wanted to do something different with my life, and engineering looked like a great career where I could contribute and lead. Thankfully, I never believed that I needed to be a whiz in math and science, but that I only needed to enjoy the study of math and science and to see math and science as tools for their application of problem solving. Thankfully, with the implementation of Title IX, I was able to participate in sports at Michigan Tech, where I completed both my baccalaureate and master's degrees in civil engineering. I did this at a time when women were beginning to enter engineering in greater numbers, but even so, I was often the only woman I was often the only woman in class, and I was certainly the only woman engineer in the various positions I held as a professional engineer. Participation in sports was really important for me. It matched my physical interests and provided me with the right kind of counterbalance to my studies. Sports helped boost my confidence and my ability to work as a member of a team to achieve a goal. After receiving my master's degree, I worked in the wood products industry. I don't know who works in the wood products industry anymore, for several years before returning to school for a PhD, also in civil engineering. Today, after spending 20 years at Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is the gateway to the Grand Canyon, I now find myself at Cal Poly leading one of the best undergraduate engineering programs in the nation. For 16 years running, our engineering programs have ranked annually by the U.S. News as the top state-funded master's level education institution in the nation. This is a fabulous return on investment by the state of California. We effectively and we efficiently serve California's engineering workforce needs, and we're very proud of that mission that we serve. What I'll do is, I believe that the business case for greater diversity is clear and compelling, and according to Aviation Week's 2015 workforce survey, women engineers comprise 14.6% of the A&D workforce. So how do we get from here today to somewhere more? I think getting to somewhere more is definitely possible. I'm encouraged by the women who are 35 years of age or younger. More young women are choosing a career in engineering as they recognize the variety of opportunities available to them in the critical areas of technology, energy, and the life sciences. The latest American Society for Engineering Education, they produce a data profile every year, so the last one now would be 2013 that was published, shows that women are accounting for 26% of the undergraduates in engineering nationally. This is really a great jump from the 18% that was reported in 2009, so we're making progress. It's heartening to see all of the great work in K through 12 as more and more programs embrace STEM and utilize hands-on, experiential, and collaborative educational tactics to capture the imagination of these new generations. At Cal Poly, we have a number of outreach and partnering programs, and I'll just highlight one of them because it's particularly relevant to our California Aerospace Days. Cal Poly is actively partnering with Northrop Grumman and the Da Vinci Schools of Hawthorne, California to bring highly qualified, diverse students to and through Cal Poly's engineering program and into STEM jobs at top-tier engineering companies like Northrop Grumman. The program, which is funded by Northrop Grumman, began in 2014 and is now in its second year, and the partnership focuses on 4 bottlenecks in the pipeline. Now, because I am a little sensitive to our time, I'm not going to describe those 4 bottlenecks, but I'll go ahead and just highlight a couple of the different things that we are doing with that. One of the things that the partnership is supporting is that it supports the attendance of our Da Vinci Science students to a summer camp that we host at Cal Poly called Engineering Possibilities in College, or otherwise known as EPIC. This successful program introduces campers to the varied fields of engineering through hands-on labs guided by university professors and industry professionals. EPIC campers experience the Cal Poly learn by doing philosophy by designing, building, and testing their own projects and interacting with college students who are involved with sending their own small satellites into space, who are creating new prosthetic hands, and racing various types of custom-built vehicles, including bikes and canoes. As noted by one mom from a student from last year's summer high school camp, she said, "I was impressed at the confidence that your program inspires. The projects and teamwork were perfect. The tour of Lockheed Martin," yes, we do have a Lockheed Martin facility in San Luis Obispo, it's not just wine and strawberries, was the icing on the cake. We are beyond thankful for this opportunity. I guess I better say surfing as well. The other thing that the partnership does, Northrop Grumman helps fund scholarships for qualified Da Vinci students to join Cal Poly's Scholars Program. This program, it's part of this larger program, which today we have 169 scholars in the College of Engineering. These scholars are coming from our partner high schools, and it provides proactive advising through targeted intervention, outreach, and support. I will talk a little bit about the last bottleneck, and this is one of the things that we have been working with our Da Vinci School, is that upon beginning college, many of our students, especially that are coming from schools like Da Vinci, that are smaller, feel overwhelmed and they're lost in the large atmosphere, and they can struggle academically because of that. This partnership provides additional counseling and mentoring resources through Cal Poly's Multicultural Engineering Program. Our Da Vinci Northrop Grumman Cal Poly scholars are provided the opportunity to attend a 3-week summer residential program that's called Summer Institute. One of our female scholars said, "Summer Institute has really helped me transition into college. During the program, I was able to get a feel for what college would be like, in a structured program that was designed to help those with similar backgrounds as like myself succeed in school. After being able to quickly adapt to life on campus and making connections with my peers, I was relieved to know that I would be able to walk around and see familiar faces. During the first quarter of college, I fell into a slight depression due to family problems, but I was so extremely grateful to have my support system from SI to help me through it all. It was because of SI that I have the connections that I have now. It was because I went through SI that I'm more confident and ready for the challenges that lay before me. And this is an engineering student. As my time with you comes to end, I'd like to set out a goal for all of us interested in the STEM pipeline from K through 12 to the university to industry, and specifically for the aerospace and defense sectors that are so important to California's economy. They're so important to the advancement of our technology and to our nation's security. I'd like for the state of California to commit to reaching a 30% gender diversity goal in our colleges of engineering and computer science in 5 years. This 30% idea is not new. It comes from the physics concept of the amount of mass that's needed to sustain a nuclear reaction, and it famously found its way into Justice O'Connor's opinion in the Grutter versus Bollinger on the University of Michigan's Law School admissions policy. In this case, critical mass is the number that encourages underrepresented students to participate in the classroom and not feel isolated. It's the number when stereotypes lose their force. A numerical goal like 30% is the first essential step in increasing participation of women in STEM. Gender diversity will not come with bromides and one-step solutions. This is a very complicated issue, and it's more about culture than it is about the innate skill and the interests of women. When 1 out of every 3 engineers and computer scientists is a woman, the cultures will change because of the magnitude of their collective impact. They will become the critical mass that creates a cultural chain reaction from the inside. It won't be easy to achieve this target, and anyone who suggests otherwise really doesn't know engineering, and they perhaps are a charlatan. There are no secret recipes or foolproof checklists. It will be an accumulation of many things implemented across many organizations. It will take wholesale effort by all to impact this pipeline. We've heard of a number of suggestions from my colleagues, and so I think I won't go through and list those same. But similarly, there are many. I'd like to, however, emphasize that there's a lot of myths that get in the way about, and those myths include things like, we don't need to think about what makes us different, or if a problem arises, we personally cannot do much about it. As leaders of our respective organizations, we are in the best place to do something about this because it is about culture. We need to root out uncivil and undermining behaviors, create organizations that value employee contributions, and develop policies and practices that support work-life balance for all. One of the most important elements of being a leader is to build a great culture. This starts with a visible commitment to an important goal. We can no longer afford to remain silent. We must bolster belonging and take action. As one of my own female engineering students said after hearing a speech around diversity and inclusivity, and this was to my associate dean, she said to him, "You taught me an invaluable lesson. Being silent is being an enabler. The quiet majority have so much potential but fail to use it properly. I've been embarrassed to speak my mind as I would not want to affect any relationships I have had with others who have different beliefs, and I do not want to be deemed that person. Your speech inspired me to leave the silent majority behind and to put my beliefs and passions ahead of my fear of being that person. I am no longer a member of the silent majority. I'm a proud activist." So as I close, I would like to invite all of us to join our student Kathleen and become activists focused on an attainable goal of 30% enrollment by women in engineering and computer science in our state's universities. Thank you.
Thank you. Fabulous. All of these have been terrific. At this point, I'm going to hand the gavel over to my vice chair. I have another event I have to do, and then I'm hoping to rejoin you at 5:15 or 5:30 in the Governor's Council, and hopefully everybody here is invited to attend. And I will be reviewing the tapes so I don't miss even one word that as I'm out. So thank you.
From Dr. Sandra Magnus from the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Senator Flohr.
What I'd like to do, first of all, thank you for the invitation to speak. Thank you for the hearing. I think we've heard some wonderful stories today, and I think we're all getting some really good information about how important the STEM area is, how we can engage more young ladies in the STEM, and some of the challenges we face. So on that note, what I'd like to do is share just a moment of my background to put into context some of my comments, and then maybe do a summary, if you will, because I think a lot of the important points have already been made here today. I've been at the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics for 3.5 years as the executive director. Before that, I, for 16 years, served as a NASA astronaut with 3 missions, 2 short and 1 long, spending 4.5 months on the space station. As the executive director of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, I've had the opportunity to engage with the aerospace community across the country. And that includes seasoned professionals, college students, both undergraduate and graduate, as well as spending a lot of time with middle school students and high school students. And again, I'll come back to that in the context of the summary I'd like to do. A little bit about my background. I grew up in Southern Illinois in a town of about 45,000 people. Somewhere around middle school, the bug to become an astronaut hit me. They asked me in the interview, what was the moment? I don't have a defining moment. I think as it was defined earlier, it just sort of grows on you, and the idea of going into space and being on the edge of what people can do, and of course seeing our beautiful planet from space stuck with me. I did not know engineering existed. No one in my family was an engineer. My mother was a nurse. My father was in insurance. He actually got his college degree when I got my college degree. They were very supportive. They were of the attitude that, hard work, again, gets you everywhere. Education was very important. So when I blurted out at that young age, I want to be an astronaut, their attitude was, hey, why not? Go for it. In more appropriate language. The thing was, I had this idea that I was going to go study physics. I knew biology, I knew chemistry, I knew physics. Physics was the one that resonated with me the most because it was asking the question why, trying to understand how the world worked. And so I made this plan to study physics all the way through the PhD, apply to NASA, and presto whammo, yay, I was going to go be an astronaut. I remember, I didn't know how I was going to do it. That just was the plan I conceived in my young mind. And then in 1978, when I started high school, NASA selected the first class of women astronauts. And I still remember to this day how emotional of a moment that was for me, because I could see a path towards this amazing goal that I had. Because look, NASA was taking women astronauts. I'm sure many of us in the room remember that milestone event. And so I, happily went off to high school, went to school to study physics, and when I was in college, discovered engineering. And I thought, wow, this is really great. You can take the physics and you can go solve problems and build things with it. And that's actually where I got engaged with engineering, and subsequently went on to study engineering at the master's level and at the PhD level as a mixture of both. And from that moment, I think, oh, by the way, I just want to say to Madeline, when I showed up in the astronaut office, I had the exact same feeling of, oh my gosh, do I really belong here? And when are they going to figure out they hired the wrong person? So that never goes away. And I'll come back to that point. I didn't know it had a name. I just thought I was just being myself, right? But anyway, so I think that one of the things that was brought home to me as I was having the experiences of my life was that engaging children at a young age, just to show them what engineering is really important. As it was stated earlier, you can't pick a career or imagine a world that's not in existence for you. When you're young, you think that your world is the world that everybody lives in. If your family sits down to have dinner at 5 o'clock every night, you think every family sits down to have dinner at 5 o'clock. So anything that you can do, and this really goes beyond the scope of engineering, anything you can do for young people to expand their horizons, to let them see what other possibilities are out there, is extremely powerful. And from that moment on, we count on the education system and teachers. Teachers were a theme that we've heard from everybody today. There's certain teachers who took a moment to notice the student and engage the young person in their interests and provide that little bit of extra support. That's another really important thing. And then we talk about mentors and role models, seeing those women who were selected as astronauts, seeing someone in your community who's gone off and done engineering and come back, or gone off and done really any kind of career that's outside your norm. So it's all about expanding the norms and providing the support network to encourage that behavior. And then the language we use is also very important. It's amazing, and I've talked to a lot of young people. It's amazing how many tell me, oh, I was really good at math until I got to this class, and this teacher told me that, I wasn't. And it made me very sad, because children come to us with these ideas and these dreams. Their world is in their imagination, and they want to create that. And there's sometimes as adults, we don't even realize that maybe our tone or our attitude, or we think we're saying some supportive, but it might be deflating that child's idea of what's possible. So creating those supportive environments is really, really very important, and encouraging that imagination. So expansion of boundaries of thought and imagination for children with exposure to what's possible. Support structures in the schools with the teachers are so important to the development of our young people. Those encouragement, Tammy mentioned inviting her teachers to her launches. I had teachers like that encouraged my curiosity, very important. And then providing role models and mentors. And I think I speak for everyone who is here today that we have a very, very strong sense of duty and responsibility to continue being role models. And we're engaged in this area because of that. And I think you'll find that true of engineers around the country, whether it's in aerospace or anywhere else. There are a lot of engineers in this country who are engaged in STEM activities because they have that passion and they understand how fun this field is, and they feel compelled to share that energy and that passion with students. Which brings me to my final point, because I know we want to have time for questions. STEM activities. You heard a lot about a wide variety of STEM activities that are happening. And if you look across the country, this is exactly the case. There is I will call it a hodgepodge, a smorgasbord of activities that happen in STEM around the country. They're all very important. They're all very different. And it's hard to measure how effective they are, because you can't really tell when you've touched a child's life. I'll give you a story along those lines. When I was in the astronaut corps, we got tons of fan mail. People wanting autographs, letters from students who are doing a report. So I answered a letter to a student. She had a report to write. She chose me to write her report about, and she asked me a bunch of questions. I don't know how many letters you've got from this, Tammy. And I spent the time and I wrote a long letter to her answering all her questions. And this was, 10 or 11 years ago. And you forget about it, right? Because you get 8 million letters and you write them and whatever, and you go on. I went to the University of Maryland's senior banquet for the Aerospace Engineering Department last year to be their speaker as part of my job as AIAA Executive Director, and I love interacting with students. And this young lady shows up. She's a senior graduating in aerospace engineering from the University of Maryland's Aerospace Department. She shows up with a letter that I wrote her 10 or 11 years ago, and she wanted me to sign it, because I sent it electronically. So my first thought was, oh my gosh, I'm really old. I can't believe that was 10 years ago. So my second thought, I was so overwhelmed that this young girl had gotten this letter, and that was her motivation for going into engineering. And here she was 11 years later approaching me and asking me to sign this letter that I had written to her. I quite frankly, I broke down and cried because I couldn't imagine that I would have that effect. And that goes back to the smallest gestures that people can do, making a difference. And you can't measure it. I couldn't give you a statistic that said, okay, today I wrote 20 letters to students, so therefore, 2% of them are going to be engineers. So what it means is and it's especially hard for you guys in policy, because as you think about resources you have to allocate, you need to put a metric on it in order to justify it. But in this particular area, it's very, very difficult to do that. And I would encourage you to just remember that all of these efforts are important. They're not mutually dependent upon each other. They're independent, and they're very hard to measure, but they are making a difference. So just please remember that if I leave nothing else with you. And thank you for supporting those kind of programs. So I'm going to stop now because I know we're running out of time. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, Dr. Magnus. Really appreciate your thoughts. Do we have any questions for the panel from the Senator Burke?
Thank you, all of you, for your comments, especially those that refer to inspiration, because I represent a district. I have Aerospace Corporation in my district, but I also have one of the most challenged areas in the state of California, West Athens. So I have a very interesting combination of both. And my first question is for Dr. Larson, which is, of your women, and it's not to put you on the spot, it's just for my own information, of the women that are graduating from your school and getting their, graduating from engineering, how many of those, or what percentage would you say are minority women?
Not very many.
Not very many.
Yeah,
Like,
all of our women, oh my gosh. You want me to give you a percentage?
just a guess. I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to put, I won't publish it anywhere. I just want to get an estimate, an idea.
If we're graduating 23% of the baccalaureate, maybe 10% will be, yeah.
And then I guess my next question for anyone on the panel is, like I said, for someone who has a district that has both challenged areas and the industries with the opportunities for giving that inspiration, what would you recommend? I mean, I also chair the select committee on CTE, so we spend a lot of time on this conversation, but what would you say would be the best way to give that inspiration to our young minority ladies? Anyone?
So are you talking about specifically in low-income areas?
Yeah, we can talk, yeah. I mean, low-income areas, challenged areas, I mean, those, I mean, I think one of you even happened to say, you know, it's not that they can't do the work, but you can't really imagine what you've never seen. And for a lot of my young people, they would never imagine that engineering would even be possible for them. And it's not because they don't have the capacity for it. It's just that it's not on their, they don't even imagine what a career pathway from where they are now to where they would go would look like. And so my question would be, how would you best demonstrate that as those who are experts in your field?
So I would do early intervention in the schools. And then I would, you know, starting K through 12 and all the way through, and I would establish relationships with those kids. I would try to interest the industry and the university community. I would encourage alumni who've been successful to come back into the community. I really think you have to intervene at very young ages. And I think it can be very effective, but I think when you grow up in a community that doesn't have a lot of resources or whose families have challenges, that your world is so small. And so just broadening that world, broadening that view, and accessing them through the school system can make a very compelling difference. But I also think it's a lot of effort, and that effort is worth expending.
I would like to, I think that we learned a lot by our friendship and partnership with the Da Vinci schools. And so they're focused on students of color, and they were about 80 to 90% students of color. And one of the things that they learned is that, and they have these focused areas, and so one is their science. One of the things that they learned as they were, that 8th grade boys will select Da Vinci science twice as much as 8th grade girls will. And so as part of what they do is they try to run a feeder program, a pipeline builder back to their middle school, and they've offered a lot of different things, like they take the Society of Women Engineers and they do it for their high school students, and then they offer camps to the students that are in the lower grades. They run a Femineers event, and these are students that are grades 2 through 8th grade that they're trying to introduce to engineering. So I think we can draw a lot of lessons from the successes from schools like Da Vinci. There are a number of other schools like that are trying to do this very hard work, working in these very difficult areas.
Can I share a quick story? I have a relationship with a school in Wendover, Utah, which is just across the border from Wendover, Nevada. Anyway, it's a small school. It's a community of people who are migrants, and a lot of the parents haven't finished high school. And there was a teacher there who was motivated to make that school a NASA Explorer School, which is how my relationship with them started. And at that point, the young people who lived there only could imagine going to work for the casino right across the border, because that's what everybody did. And this teacher brought NASA in via the Explorer School, and I just ended up keeping a relationship with them because she was working so hard. And what she ended up doing was, dragging these students to Expanding Your Horizons conferences, engaging them in science. I'd go back and visit the school every 2 or 3 years just to keep the energy up. And she started sending students off to engineering school, and they would come back. And they would talk to the students, and there was something that the students could identify with because they saw their so that's, I think, having a teacher that's a champion and then keeping the students who graduate come back in the community, that's proven to be a very powerful model for them. And they're sending more and more students off, not just to do engineering now, but other professions that are college related. It's really opened their world up. But this has been 6, 7, 8, 9 years in the making, this effort.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Senator Clue.
I'm just interested in hearing any comments you have about particular types of education programs that you might look to push, science bowls, robotic courses, where you sort of get a blend of engineering in high school settings, outstanding examples of ways in which to use technology to link kids at a high school with something dramatic, Curiosity Rover or things going on at JPL or those sorts of things. Are there things like that are sort of out there that can also help sort of prime the pump and spur interest, support interest, make people see the sky is not the limit?
It's definitely not the limit.
Yeah.
No, I think the hands-on programs that are competitions, I think are very useful because what it does is it gets the students thinking about the practical side. There's a big difference between learning that you sort of get intellectually and learning that you get experientially.
You're reacting to like the robotics idea.
Yeah. But there's more than just robotics out there. There's software coding programs, there's robotics programs, there's airplane programs, there's build-a-bridge programs. There's a lot of professional societies, for example, host these kinds of events. A lot of companies host these kinds of events. Universities host these kinds of events. They're out there. I think the problem is communicating those opportunities effectively into the schools and then having champions in the school.
I've seen a bridge building program just the last month locally at one of our high schools, for example. But you're right, I don't hear a lot about those.
Well, I think that we just finished Engineers Week. It's a national week that celebrates engineers, and that was just this week? Last week? What day is it? Last week. That's week. And so the national societies get together and they try to continue to promote engineering. At Cal Poly, we had our Society of Women Engineering Students, and that's a really large group. They're one of the largest in the nation. And they went out to, part of Engineers Week is they went out to fourth grade schools in and around the San Luis Obispo and did a build an engineer kind of a set of activities. There's a lot of things going on, but I think that's going to require a lot of these things to go on. There is just not one. There's not going to be one. And there's one other. Lego is just a fantastic company that with their little, I don't know if you've seen these programmable bricks that you can buy, and students learn how to build. They can do a number of things, but through the brick, then they can easily make robots that can do things. They can walk, they can sense, they can do, and you can just buy those at the store.
There's also a Girls Who Code program, a program our lab supports, and I think a lot of other institutions do. I have 2 boys, and they love their Legos, and they love programming. And I think it's but it takes a long-term, sustained effort. Industry, universities, parents, teachers, all acting in concert, I think, for the best interests of the students. And it's a heavy lift, too. It's not easy, and it won't happen overnight.
I wanted to add something. So Deborah mentioned the Society of Women Engineers, and I think it's very important that both women and people of color, scientists and engineers, get out there and demonstrate to kids that this is a possible field for you too. And also, when you get into college or you get into industry, it's also important to have that sense of community with other people. So before you get to the 30%, the Society of Women Engineers, within aerospace, we have something called the Aerospace Women's Committee in which we can network. Those kinds of organizations are important to maintain women and people of color in those jobs.
In Rancho Cordova, we co-locate schools. We have a middle school right by our high school. The middle school, started in 2008, developed a program of math science camps where we just go to a state park and the teachers conjure up a math science program over a 4-day thing. I actually go and run the campsite. It's an odd skill to have. Last year we did 100 people in the campsite for 4 days, but the teachers are always trying to figure out what sort of math science experiences can they do at a state park down in Monterey Bay. They do tidal studies and designing solar things and measuring the height of a tree by doing the angles and things. But they're always looking at how can they start bringing science and math education into the kids' lives, along with the camping experience, which many of them have not seen the ocean. They've never camped. So that's sort of a boundary expansion sort of thing. And Rancho in the 90s was the most rapidly diversifying community in California. So we have a wide variety of kids who participate, and they're going on now to college, as I said a few minutes ago, but trying to come up with things that they can do in the field on a meager local school budget to start opening a vision of what a career can mean.
I would suggest that the teachers contact the professional societies in the areas that they're interested in engaging the students with, because professional societies usually have on their websites STEM ideas or contacts, and there's a lot of ready-made material out there. You just have to sort of go out and get it. It's more of a pull rather than a push, but it's passively out there.
Specifically, the American Society for Engineering Education, ASEE, has a whole area of their website called Engineering Go For It, and it's specifically geared for K through 12. It's really great materials.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Larson.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you so much, panelists, and I really appreciate the incredible testimony we've had. Everybody's invited to the reception down in the Governor's Council room and to all the incredible events that we're going to be having tomorrow. I also wanted to alert people to the fact that tomorrow evening on PBS, I think at 9, American Experience, the wonderful program about American history, is going to be doing something on it's a special on the early years of spaceflight. And I think it's called Space Men. So it's unfortunately, but hopefully there will be a couple women featured in there, and then we look forward to them making the second episode, which will include so many people that we've heard from today. So thank you so much for your testimony, for your inspiration. We've learned a lot from this. We really do appreciate your leadership, the example you showed to our young people, and all you're also doing for the defense of our nation. So thank you so much, and we'll see you downstairs in the reception. We appreciate it.